B-roll is the thing that you're showing while the person's talking. So if I said, man, this morning I woke up and for breakfast made the best peanut butter jelly sandwich I'd ever had in my life. And that's the story I'm telling. Now if I cut to, like as I'm saying, I really love this peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you show me making a peanut butter jelly sandwich. So I like to ask myself, what brings context and what is distracting? So context means what helps you gain a better understanding of the person's story you're trying to tell. So I have a confession to make. There's something that just really gets in my crawl when it comes to B-roll, and that is making documentary subjects into actors. And I'm sure you've seen it, or maybe even done it. I've done it before too. You're filming a couple and you go, okay, now that we're done, let's go shoot some B-roll. You go down the street, down the block, and start walking towards me and hold hands. And they start doing that, and I just loathe that kind of thing. I don't want to turn people into actors. I think that, first off, it feels cheesy to me, and I try not to do it. But what I will do is I'll create situations for them to behave normally in, and I'll observe that. That's the kind of B-roll that I think is best for a story. If you're trying to, show a piece of their life, I'll say, y'all just be normal and do normal family stuff, and I'll capture some stuff. Now I know it's tempting to just kind of want to, hey, I got to get home, it's dinner time. I don't have time to wait for that magic moment. Well, that's the job. I mean, that's how you make compelling videos, is you wait for the thing to happen and you film that. So a couple of examples in this single story about the Countrymen's, where it was an adoption story. The adoption was happening as we were telling the story. So I got to film the thing as it was happening, which all of a sudden takes on a life that's different than B-roll, because they stop talking and we start showing the thing happening. And that's the coolest kind of storytelling, is where if you can film it as it's happening, boy, does that make great stuff. But I said, I want to get some family shots of you guys being a family and doing family stuff, but I don't want to make you into actors. So here's a few bucks. Let's go to the zoo. You guys roam around the zoo, do whatever it is you want to do. I don't care. I'll hang back 15, 20 feet. You just ignore me and do normal family stuff. So I'm not turning them into actors. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just saying, behave normally in your natural environment. And I'll just film that like a fly on the wall. And yeah, it might take a little bit of time to get that magic moment, but creating those scenarios where it can happen. So we're filming at the courthouse, the thing happening there. The adoption papers are being signed, families there, they're all clapping. And I really needed the shot of them coming together as a family and embracing. And it was like 12:15, 12:30, which meant I was hungry, and my doctor says I have to eat lunch every day or I will kill somebody. And so we're kind of like getting close to that threshold, and I thought, I'm just gonna walk up to them and say, hey, I'm gonna step back there, you guys hug, turn them into actors. And I thought, no, stick with it. Like, something great is gonna happen. And sure enough, once they stopped shaking everybody's hands and it kind of died down, they had the most authentic, natural embrace as a family for the first time, because the adoption went through. That is just one of the most compelling things, in my opinion, that I've ever shot. And I just am so glad that I decided to wait those few extra moments and not be impatient and capture the right thing.
I grew up going to church. It was something that we just did. My whole family went to church my whole life.
When I was in middle school, I completely walked away from that and became an atheist and lived most of my adult life that way until I met Adam. And even when we got married, it was just slowly over time in the first few years of our marriage that I decided to give my life to Christ.
When we got married, we had talked about having kids, but we did the thing that I think a lot of people do, and we said, well, about 3 years in, we'll start just trying.
And that wasn't working. It kind of seemed like maybe God had a different plan there.
There was nothing really standing in our way. There was no definitive thing that said you can't have kids. There's still not that definitive answer.
Denial and anger and sadness, and resentment, and it was kind of, that would happen almost every month.
The day where I come home and Alyssa's laying on the bathroom floor just bawling her eyes out, like literally going through a grief process.
I realized that I needed to start praying differently. And instead of praying to become pregnant and to grow our family, I started praying that, God, if I'm not supposed to be pregnant, then take this desire away from me to be pregnant. You know, after a few months of praying that prayer, God did that, and I feel like that's a supernatural thing. Now, God didn't take away the desire for me to become a mom, and so at that point is when we started looking into other options.
We walked down the path of private adoption, door closed. Walk down the avenue of public adoption, door closed. Go down the path of infertility treatment, and that door shut. And we got into a point where we just kind of said, let's not do anything for a while because nothing's working. I was at work one day and a random phone call came into the office, and it was Mary from Casa de Esperanza asking if anyone would be interested in adopting a baby.
I got so excited about this phone call and what she was telling us about that, like, I missed, like, you have to foster. Like, none of our kids are free and clear for adoption at this agency.
You take a child into your home, you love them as your own, and you really don't know whether they're going to be with you next week or in a month or in a year. And the uncertainty was really weighing heavy on my heart, because as the man in our house, my first priority was to my wife. It was to protect her and protect her feelings. And I didn't really, like the idea of putting her through some great loss like that.
Yeah, so then we get the phone call about our kids.
And it wasn't one, it was two.
2 kids. You know, it changed everything. We had to relearn how to become married. There were several times throughout the year where it looked like they were gonna be leaving our home, and we kind of had to go to that place, that emotional place of that, and let ourselves start to go through some of that grief of losing them.
And by the time we hit December, my prayer was just, let us get to Christmas. I would love to have Christmas with the kids. And it was the day after Christmas when we got the news that we were going to be able to adopt Annie.
And then just recently we got the news that we're going to be able to adopt Austin as well. It still just feels, it's amazing. It's beautiful. I love, my favorite word in the world is mommy, you know.